Welcome to Motivation Monday. Welcome, welcome, welcome. New week, new goals. We have an amazing show prepared for you this morning. Rise and shine, kings and queens. We have our amazing guest, Cyril White, to God be the glory, sports. He's going to share with us his vision, his mission, how he is an activist basically for our community and our young people. And of course, my esteemed co-host, Lady Ashley, say hello to the good people.
Hello. So glad to be here and a part of this conversation today.
And a conversation it is indeed. I'm so excited to move to just drive on through, but I want to remind the audience that we're doing a giveaway, and it's a $25 gift card for the one that played the repost of the show. So you want to make sure that you share. Make sure that you tag your friends so that they can share. We want enough people chiming in so that you can also, share your opinion and your questions. We want to be able to be the answer to your question. Now, moving forward, Cyril White, sir, it is a pleasure and an honor to have you a part of Motivation Monday, sir. You look like sunshine.
God be glory. I'm glad to be here, even though Ashley's the one with the yellow top.
I know.
I'm glad to be like sunshine. I'm gonna let my light shine. I'm glad
that is
that. Thank you.
See, you got it. You got it, man of God. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. We gotta let our light shine. Yeah, I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, sir. This is an opportunity for you to share with our community. Of course, the theme for today is in regards to the village. And of course, I stated it as being a child it takes a community to raise a child, AKA it takes a village. That's all the community resources like the gym, the Y, the parks, all these places in our community where it appears that they're being destroyed and they're not being renovated, to create a space for the children to be able to go and be amongst, leaders and mentors. A lot of the children, they're involved in sports and other different things. And look, for instance, the virtual community right now, I believe that a lack of resources in our community where they're the gym, the parks, the Y, these type resources are not available for the children to go, because their parents are working. So they have to stay at home alone because of the pandemic. I'm hoping that you're going to shed some light on resources that you are aware of, how you feel that is it makes sense, for us as a community to come closer together instead of against each other. I want you to share with us what it is that that to God be the glory, sports came to be. We want to know the inspiration, the motivation, the mission, and also the purpose.
Thank you. Yes. Well, I grew up, just like you said, using a lot of those same resources that you said. I played in the parks all the time. And that's where I really honed a lot of my athletic skills, right? I went to the Y and played there and was on the swim team and a part of the, team community there using the Y. And so this was a big part of shaping me as a young athlete growing up until, I graduated from high school. I got a scholarship for basketball to Texas Lutheran University. And so, I was playing basketball. Athletics was always a big part of me. And so now it's since I see where athletics has taken me in terms of scholarship, in terms of professional opportunity, it just that was the inspiration for To God Be the Glory Sports, was seeing how sports was able to be a vehicle to take me, from my community and, put me on a path to independence, help me be able to establish myself as a man graduating college and being able to, start a company. All this was happening around sports. So that was my real inspiration in trying to inspire other youth to be able to do the same thing.
Okay. Now, how important was it when you were growing up, to have a place to go?
Listen, I lived, I could run through this field up to this park in Houston, Cloverland Park. And man, I spent every moment at that park that I could. I mean, I would get home, drop my backpack, and run across that field to the park. And, now some of the people who live in the neighborhood, if I come back and they always remind me, man, I used to always see you running with that basketball. Man, I remember you used to always have that ball running. But, that gave me something to focus on. It gave me something to measure my improvement. I mean, it was really a sense of organization and, striving after some goals. So to God be the glory when I get with these young guys. One of the first things I want to know is, what are you trying to do? Like, this basketball, this is more than the game. For me, it is. This is life. Like, you're trying to get a scholarship. Okay, let me sit you down and see where you are, how we may be able to help you do that. You trying to go overseas? Okay, let's see your resume. Let's see who I know. Let's see who fits, what the job opportunities may lie. And, just trying to encourage them and edify them and just build them up to walk, in a godly way so they can continue to be blessed. But, we're not out here just trying to be about a bunch of dribbling. It's got to have a purpose behind it.
That is really awesome because one philosophy that my husband and we share is like our son Noah, he is like every sport he plays, he dominates. He's like a freight train on the basketball court. He's 8 years old. He does baseball. He just started football, which I was against that. But one philosophy
all
that we
are.
No, I'm not feeling football. But we have an understanding that although sports are great, that the academics are even greater. And so you notice that in this area where football is predominantly the sport to play here, I noticed that a lot of parents are more into their kids playing sport than they are their academics. And so as a result, you see a lot of students who dominate the field, who dominate the basketball court, but when it's time to take a graduation test or graduate, they're not able to do that. Or when it's time to go to college, they flunk out the first quarter. So I can really appreciate your program because it's way bigger than sports from what I hear. And you and the group of men or people you're connected to, it appears that you're also helping them build their character and teach them how to grow up to be presentable, honest young men. And that's an awesome thing. So kudos to you.
Thank you. I give glory to God. I say this, it's about sustainable success. Like I tell them, you want to have some success that comes from this that's sustainable, and you want to be able to back on what you did with me. That's how I look at the success of what we're doing too. It's like, okay, this young man was here when he started with me. Okay, then now he ends up here, and so, I know I can't control everything. It even describes that in the parable in the Bible, right, where it talks about the parable of the sower. Some of the seeds fell on fertile soil, some of them fell upon weeds, and some of them fell amongst the concrete. So but I'm definitely out there trying to sow those seeds, right, and so the guys have the right information for sustaining this.
Right. It's definitely the effort to me that counts. It takes a lot to even put forth an effort when it comes to pouring into the youth. And although there may be some who are lost, they'll always remember that seed that you place inside of them. And I can remember being I can remember being a young girl, and I grew up in foster care for 7 years of my life. And so I had some things that I had to deal with, but I remember going through school and not ever really having one educator to ask me what's going on, what's wrong. not having one adult to say, hey, I noticed that, you know, you did this. Is there a reason? Can I help you? And so that village that you're creating within your center that you're doing, and then all of the other work that you do, like it's definitely to be praised because it's needed. So what you're seeing right now is a generation of children who have grown up to be young adults who didn't have that village, because they've torn down our gyms, they've torn down our basketball courts, they've taken all of the extra stuff out, what we would usually make our outlet. And so as a result, you have a lot of young people who are undeveloped because they didn't have that village.
You know, as I've grown, you know, I've been doing To God Be the Glory since 1997. So this is year 23 for me. As I've grown with To God Be the Glory. Like I said, the basketball is what brings us together. But you know, I tried this being goal oriented and being focused on something, on some other byproduct of basketball. That's always been my approach, and it's something to where, you know, I've had so many guys come. Some guys get it, and for some guys it's too much. Like they just some guys just want to play basketball.
Right.
They just want to leave it at that. But for me, it's like it can't be that way. Like no, because there's no fruit that's going to be. I don't care if you can jump and slam higher than Michael Jordan and LeBron James put together. If we don't have a strategy around that, we don't have anything we're going to leverage. How you going to benefit yourself? How you going to benefit your family? And how people are going to be in a better position tomorrow than they are today?
Right.
You know. That's it. Like, you know, we got to move forward, and you know, there's so many ways that we can empower young men to just be empowered, to be leaders in their families and also in the community.
Right. That's awesome.
Tell me this: how is it that you came to this knowledge? Remember, you yourself used to love to play basketball, so that we stay on the theme of it takes a village. What was your village? What was your village? The mentor?
You know, growing up, I went to, you know, of course, first my family. You know, I was raised by my grandparents. My grandfather was a very strong man, and he really got me into baseball at a young age. When I started playing basketball, I was going to Rice University basketball camps in the summer. That's what really got me just sold on basketball. One of my aunts put me in it one summer, and it was just the greatest thing. And I really latched on to one of the assistant coaches at Rice, Coach Willis Wilson, and he's now the head coach at Texas A&M Corpus Christi. But he was the head coach at Rice for like 16 years. So, you know, he really took me under his wing. He was an African-American man on the staff with all, you know, white guys, and he was the head coach. It's like, man, and I was like 14. I used to go up to his office. He used to sit there and talk to me. I was like, man, this guy's big time. Like, it's the way he
seen something in you.
The way he talked, the way he handled himself. I was like, man, this guy is it. You know, so I always wanted to be around Coach Wilson. And, you know, later he hired me. He gave me a job as a student assistant once I got to getting that. So he really let me into the NCAA, which then led to me starting, you know, the NCAA tours, which George Floyd was on. So he was a big part of my. Then I have an uncle in Houston that has a church, you know, Pastor Cyril White. And, you know, he's always been a great spiritual mentor, supporting me and behind me. So, yeah, you know, again, it takes these type of people to make me like with Coach Wilson. I was like, man, this guy's getting paid a bundle of cash, and he's not shooting a jump shot not one time. And every time I see him, he's dressed like this, like, man. But she's staying around the game like this is what the game can lead into. So when I see these young guys try to say, man, I know you're doing this right now, but where are you really trying to get this to take you tomorrow?
Right. And that's awesome that you plant that seed in their heads, because a lot of kids like when they're younger, you ask them, what do you want to be when you grow up? And a lot of them will say, I want to be a professional ball player. I want to be, I want to be in the pros, because they see them on the TV, because they know the money that they make. But there's a guy who went semi-pro here. His name is Donovan Tate, and he's actually training my son in baseball. And I love the fact that his message is, don't allow sports to be your only resolve, your final destination. Right. You know, it's very important to plant those seeds into kids to not only do what they love to do, also have other goals, so that if you fail at one goal, you don't feel as though you're a failure. So that's awesome.
Correct.
Do you recommend volunteering in the community when it comes to the village? You know, do you recommend that the young people volunteer, in the community in which they are living in?
Definitely. Especially, what do they say? The highest call of education is to serve, right?
Yeah.
And even in the Bible, it says, to he whom much is given,
much is required.
So I definitely, that's always been a part of me. And I mentioned my neighborhood, Cloverland Park, where I grew up. Before I knew how to drive, I've always, volunteered and given back. And I like to see guys when they do that too. One of George Floyd's fruits, one of the fruits of his vine, Eddie Barlow was a guy who played basketball at Sam Houston State. He's an all-time assist leader, at least maybe in the top 5. But at one point, he was the all-time assist. George Floyd brought him around. And now this guy is back in the CUNY homes doing voter registration drives. He goes out 2 or 3 times a month and sign up people voter registration drive, And, that's how the other kids see what they're going to do when they get older.
Right. That's awesome. I'm just curious. How did love become the more dominant emotion that you channeled when it came to the center that you're building? Because I'm sure that after the tragedy that has taken place with your good friend, I'm sure you were angry, I'm sure you were mad, I'm sure you were frustrated, and all these other negative emotions. But how did you allow love to be the more dominant emotion to inspire this project?
I've always tried to lead with love, throughout my journey and process with To God Be the Glory. I've always done that. And I have this practice that I do. I've always tried to put myself in other people's shoes to play an empathetic role. I role play in my mind so that I could try to get the perspective of the other side. I do that all the time so that I try to be level-headed in my approach to things and not so, biased. We're always going to have our own personal bias on stuff, no matter what.
Right.
I make a great attempt to really at least look at things from all sides. So that being said, gave me the mindset, like, this is what would really, honor George Floyd in a good way, to have something that leads with love, something that has clear goals and things that people, something that we can learn from, evolve, and just all become better people. Like I say, from tragedy to triumph.
Right. Awesome. And a lot of people become victims of tragedy. A lot of people become victims of tragedy, and they allow that to dictate their next move. And I think with you having such a great position in your community and being the leader that you are and having your hands in all the different projects that you're doing, I think that it's a very honorable thing for you to, I'm sure you recognize at some point that how I react and how I move is going to dictate how the people who see me move, because you're a leader. And because, if he roars loud, I'm going to roar loud. But if he decides to take this way, I'm taking that way. So you saved a lot of people, because I'm sure that y'all could have burnt down Texas and wherever, you know what I'm saying?
It was
but
going
because
that
you
way.
chose.
You know, it's been a lot of protest, and a lot of protest, and some of that rioting and looting. And I said in the beginning that we got to be results oriented, and as it says in the Bible, it is written, and it is about what is in writing, and a lot of these things
Right.
that are in writing have to be changed. And I said, let me figure out how I can be, like you said, a calm but steady voice of reason here. A calm but steady voice of reason. Even so much so being sensitive to the other side that's being so
Right.
heavily emphasized, the police department. The police
Yeah.
department.
Absolutely.
They're made not to be the bad guys, but to God be the glory. Sports is saying, let's be sensitive to those guys because, hey, a lot of those guys are being trained. Every one of those guys being trained in some of these things that are being executed and carried out in the field. And like I said, it is written. It is written. A lot of these things are in writing. That knee to the back of George Floyd's neck that took his life. In that manual, it is written that is okay to do in two different ways, either with my use of my forearm or use of my knee. So these guys are trained so we need to look at this from both sides lovingly, and then we can really come to some right conclusions where changes need to be made.
Right.
I had a meeting with the guy I do some consulting with on real estate development, and he knew that I'd already built another big sports complex in Houston back in 2004. He knew, and he has some land. We're sitting there discussing our project. We're watching it on CNN, all this stuff with George Floyd, and I'm sitting there talking with this gentleman, and we're going, and I just said, hey man, you know what? Listen, I'm looking at all this land in your real estate portfolio here, and it'd be really good, man. Just we got our relationship. Man, you need to sign some of that land over to God be the glory sports. Just
Wow.
commit some of that land to me. And then when I speak at the funeral next week, I'm gonna say that I'm gonna do a center on this property, man. I was like, and this is a white guy, good friend of mine, white guy. I was like, really, man. I was like, I'm telling you, this would be a great conversation tool for me to really prove to the world, like, it's a lot of good white people out here that really want to get down, and every white person just don't sit silent when bad stuff happens to black people.
Wow.
So we left the table. He called me in 2 days to his assistant and was like, drop the paperwork, Cyril, let's get it done.
Wow. Talk about you have not because you asked not.
That's exactly.
Wow, that is awesome.
And so that kind of lit the match with the whole thing. And, that's kind of how it came like there. Because when I went to that meeting that day, I was not thinking about that. I was thinking about just talking about my project, what we were about, this other project, and, the details of it. And we started looking at all the land in Houston, this side, that side. I'm looking at Florida on the screen. We kind of having our little dialogue. It's like, say, man, wait a minute, man, look.
Wow.
People that know me, they know that I will say, man, wait a minute, look, real fast, a lot of times.
Wow. That's inspiring for real. That's powerful.
For the people that are thinking, because see, you done moved it into another, you transitioned it to where you're doing the t-shirts and you're doing like gear, right? What is it that you would want people to know so that they stay on task regarding your mission and your purpose for to God be the glory, and not really so much about Floyd, but about the character of this organization? Because George Floyd was a good guy. He had a good heart. So what is it that you want people to know? You're not in any way trying to defend wrong.
Correct.
But you're trying to.
Yeah, to God be the glory. Like I said, we've been here since '97, and trying to educate and uplift and inspire young people, and we've been trying to bring out the best in all of our participants, right, and highlight the good things about them and encourage them to work on their flaws. And so, in the case with George Floyd, I tell anybody who wants to speak anything about any of his misdeeds that all have sinned and fallen short of God's glory. That's my,
Right.
that's just it. And there is no condemnation in those who choose faith in Christ. There is no condemnation. Man's condemnation is worthless. It means nothing.
Right.
And also to people who say, hey, George Floyd wasn't a hero. George Floyd wasn't an angel. I've never said that either. What we're trying to do is say the people who are the heroes, who are who are going to rally around the tragedy to grow and learn from it. George Floyd, it just happened to be the victim. He was the victim of a heinous act. Has nothing to do with him or a hero. He was a victim of a heinous act. And we're going to come together and rally around as heroes around him being a victim.
Right. Right. And there has been so many things that has transpired in his honor. And I pray that this does not come out the wrong way. But, his death brought great purpose, and that may sound crazy, but it's just so many things that were awakened out of his death, and we never know what God's plan fully is, but there's been so many things that have been birthed because of what happened to him. But I'm grateful because I have white sisters. I have white close friends. My son probably has more white friends than he does black friends. And right now, I think that there is such a huge picture that has been painted that it's a race war that's going on, and we're mad at the white folks and all the white people did wrong. But I just love your mission. I love what you are doing because it encourages one love. It encourages that everybody, no matter the color of their skin, red, green, or blue, to just come together and just to be a part of that change, to be trailblazers. And I'm grateful for that because it gives me a little bit more hope when it comes to my children growing up to have their own families as well. So I know that the center may be a small thing, but man, the mission and the vision and everything that is gonna be birthed out of this center is gonna be so powerful. So I'm excited to just be able to sit back and watch.
I appreciate it. Thinking about what you're saying about the mission. You're right. The mission, it goes beyond the walls of just, this commemorative construction project, right? It's about what you're saying. How do we achieve that mission? How do we keep the mission in front of us at everything we do? Like Deborah said, hey, listen, we have been selling gear and To God Be the Glory products for a long time. I had my own line of To God Be the Glory basketball shoes back in 2003 to 2009. That's what really, vaulted us into being able to build my first facility, was off of the success of that. So, we've been involved in a lot of diversified things, but it's like what you said, diversity and inclusion. It's been a buzzword and a hashtag, but To God Be the Glory has always been about that because that is a model of our real world. And that's what I said too with this project. I am demanding diversity. I'm reaching out to all people. There were people from all races and walks of life that stood up for this George Floyd tragedy, right? I do not want what I'm doing with George Floyd's memorial to become a group of African-American people together screaming and chanting about, we all know what the problem is amongst us. The solution is that we can get everybody together on the same page. And that is what this is about.
That's an awesome cause.
So is that your message? Is that your message to the skeptics? Is that your message to the people that doubt that you're genuine about this movement? This is something you was always doing. This tragedy is added to this. Am I right about it? It's like your voice is even louder now.
Like you just,
you're so happy
always said it, like you get it. You just get it. You just always say that right. And just when you talk to Coach Debb, you brought it like exactly like how it is. Like it's organic, it's genuine. Look, I think it's horrible what happened to Ahmaud Arbery and Breonna Taylor and Elijah. That's horrible. But the thing is, I didn't know them. Like it should be some Cyril Whites in their life too to stand up and cheer for them. Like that's how I see it. Like Big Floyd, that's my boy. That's why I'm here. It's like it's an expansion on what we've already been doing. So to the skeptics, you got to go back and look at the history. Go look at some of those pictures and see all that diversity that to God be the glory represents. I mean, I've been living in China. Only African American amongst Chinese, learning their language. How can this not be something that's not about diversity and inclusion? So, people say, oh, he seemed like he's doing a Black Lives Matter. George Floyd just happened to be black. It could have been anyone.
Just happened to be. Right. I'm glad you're making that a statement, Right.
Just so happened to be black. You look at those pictures, you look at those players, you look at the people that we deal with. It's all kinds of people. If any one of them happened to any those people, they know how I am about my people. To God be the glory. Like I say, those guys come to me. You trusted me with your life. You trust me with your whole life. For some reason, you're trying to help me get you to college, to get you overseas, to get you a job. You coming to me, you trusted me with your life. You're going to get on a van with me. You're going to get on a plane with me. I don't take that lightly. So I'm saying I would have stood up for any one of my To God Be the Glory family, something like this happened.
Right. That's awesome. And you hear the passion, like when you speak about To God Be the Glory sports, you hear the passion in your voice. A lot of people, they do things because they want to be recognized. And a lot of people are measured by their credentials or by their degrees and stuff. But to me, at the end of the day, all that's going to matter is your work. Amen. It ain't going to matter about how many degrees you have, about how far you done travel. What's going to be important is about your works. And, that's just powerful to me. And I think other people need to see that. They need to hear that. Who cares if some people are spectators and they don't think that the motives are pure? Who cares about that? Because at the end of the day, when you stand for what's right instead of what's wrong, it don't matter if George Floyd would have been white, green, or blue. The vision would have still been the same.
And I want to go back to the purpose and mission of it all. It's just to really grow and evolve and learn from the tragedy itself. And there are some things on both sides of that tragedy, on both sides of it, takeaways that we really need to learn and grow from. I think one of the biggest issues, though, is just this overall climate of distrust between citizen and law enforcement. And, we spoke on our other show, and we talked about the two that the officers are trained to think two things if the guy has their hands on the wheel or the hands up. They're two immediate thoughts and neither of those work in the favor of the citizen that you're supposed to protect and serve. So, just like you create a syllabus for a college course for the fall and the spring, this type of programming is going to require some meticulous thought. The type of programs that we put into this place and the type of people that we bring in, be sure that they're administered the right way. So this is where I'm thinking in our planning, even outside of the construction. So we got the construction, which is one part, which to me is the easy part. To me, we already built this. The hard part is this curriculum and getting these specific programs in place, right, to bring about the change and just change the climate, change the psychology.
Right. That's awesome.
That it is important. It is important that this conversation is had. It is important that you take advantage of every opportunity to shout it from the rooftop what your message is. When it comes to even pitching to the community, because that they are part of the village. I'm talking about the business community. See, you being the only one that's doing what you're doing, that's not enough. So it's important for you to always address the thoughts of that person that's not thinking that you are doing something just or that you're doing something that's selfish. You know what I'm saying? It's important that you always answer the question of the people that's wondering what your motives are. So what is your pitch to the community of other activists or advocates that are, have the heart to work in the community and reach out to the at-risk children, because they need you. They need a lot of you. So what is the pitch to those people that have the dream, that have they have the mindset, they don't know where to start, they don't know what to do, they don't know who to talk to, but they want to help. What is your advice to them?
Thank you. That's a great question for me. And, now, like I said, after being at this for 23 years, right, we've learned a lot and grown a lot and, developed a lot of resources, what to do and what to do and what not to do. And we do want these types of people to reach out to us, people that, they may not know where to get started or they may need a little bit of help. This is something now where if that's something that I have to give as advice, or give a little bit of, constructive organization to somebody so they can carry the mission out. I've already been trying to, like you said, develop how we're going to implement this in a satellite form, right? Because this building is going to be where it's piloted and implemented initially, but this type of curriculums and stuff we're coming up with, this is what's going to be a part of the change nationwide, because this stuff is happening all over the country. So I would encourage people to contact us. To God be the glory. We got tgbtgsports.com. You can reach out there.
Okay.
You can reach out at the George Floyd Unity Through Sports Center.org. Like both are working websites and both are good ways to get in contact and share your ideas. We open to talk with you and figure out how we can help.
Excellent. Ashley, you have something you want to add? We can't hear you.
I'm sorry, I have some busy little people in the background.
Oh, we've been hearing.
Sorry, I'm at the shop. I'm working today, so excuse me. I'm just pretty excited to be a part of this conversation. I think that it's very important that people are made aware of what's going on or what is to come, and I love the fact that we're talking about the village, because it definitely still takes a village. And speaking of, I almost forgot to mention, so I had this grandmother who called me last week and she wanted a hair appointment for her granddaughter. And unfortunately, well, it's not unfortunate for me, but for her, I didn't have any availability because I was booked up. So we got to talking about school and stuff, and I was telling her that I was homeschooling my babies and two of my little cousins. And I was like, yeah, man, I got to get a printer. This is what it means to be a part of the village. Now, something as simple as me mentioning I need a printer, because the one I got is pretty jacked up, but something that simple, and for her to take hold of that thought. And probably a few days later, she showed up in my house with a brand new printer. Now, I'm not expecting her to purchase me a printer. I just mentioned it. And so that's a great example of what it takes to be the village. And I think going into this next season where there's going to be a lot of parents that's going to be teaching their kids, I think that now is a more important time for us to pull together to be the village that's needed so that we won't fail. I think we all have different purposes in our lives and we all have different gifts. And I think when we come together and we become that village and become unified, then it makes it all possible.
Thank you. Yeah, you're right. And I want to add this too. We talk a lot about George Floyd and this initiative that we're doing with the new project. And like I said, some of the curriculums that's being developed around that. Yes, that's all going on. But at the same time, we're still helping kids who are high school athletes connect with coaches that are trying to get scholarships, that we're still providing those services. We still have, some of the top trainers in Houston working with athletes, preparing them for college. And I'm still actively working with professional leagues overseas, placing players, helping them get jobs. I know COVID has knocked it off right now, but, one of the biggest projects, NBA Africa started up an NBA league. and
Wow.
it's backed by the NBA. I met with Adam Silver at the All-Star game in Chicago, shook his hand, along with every other African guy that's played in the NBA that's involved over there. So I'm going to be sending guys over to Africa to play in that league. It's going to be in 12 countries over there. So I'm really excited about that.
That's awesome.
So that's the basketball portion of it, right?
That's what I'm saying. Guys come.
Okay.
Because that's going to be a life change. Like putting your life in my hand. Hey, C. White, what you got for me? Well, go to this basketball league in Africa. They're having a draft. Go to africahoops.net and register. Okay, the guy registered. He gets drafted. We got him a contract. His life has changed. All right?
Wow.
So that's how I look at it. We got to see some measurable results so people can be like, oh, yeah, C. White, man, I went to China with him. I did this with him. Oh, I made this, you know. Because if we're not doing no business, man, we ain't doing nothing. Guys know.
Right. Powerful.
So what is the qualifications of individuals that connect with To God Be the Glory Sports to be able to travel abroad?
You know, you got to be able to hoop. Like, if we're going to play in China and stuff, they got to have a pretty strong basketball background, high-level skill. Most of the guys that I go to China with are ex-NBA players or extremely high-level NCAA players. You know, China is the second highest paying league in the world to the NBA now. So you're trying to get into China, they just, you know, it's pretty much when guys get cut from the NBA, looking to go to China. So, but as far as coming from, you know, same thing from high school to college, you know, it's what 330 Division I college, and so it's what I think it's maybe 1,500 Division I, Division II, and junior colleges that can offer scholarships to kids. So we're always looking at profiles, and you know, I got a database of coaches and know who's looking for what. And, you know, we just match make, try to put the kids in the right place.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Okay. That's what I was asking. Lady Ashley, anything you want to add to that? Because I know you got a mean machine that y'all bringing up into sports.
Yeah, he's 8.
Yeah.
He's 8 years old out there. You know, I'm listening. I'm saying he's 8. Okay, I got about 10 years.
Look, I was trying not to, you know, because I know we're doing this, you know, this live, but you know, Noah has already expressed that he wants to go pro in baseball.
Wow. Yeah.
But when I tell you that he dominates I don't even know if he's better in basketball or baseball because he's so good in both. And this is his first year doing football, and he's already starting, you know? So I want to continue to build the villages that already surrounds him. And I want to expose him to some things because, you know, this is a small town that we live in. And so it would be an awesome thing to connect him and show him the world and the different possibilities.
I got one for you, and I'm gonna make the connection to you. A guy that I took to China and helped him get his basketball career started. He got drafted into Major League Baseball. Also, he played for the California Angels. And he was a very good basketball player. He played at Dillard University in New Orleans. Really good. So he was a good two-sport athlete. He was kind of like your son. He was playing in the pros baseball, but he wanted to hoop in the pros. So
wow.
China, and he ended up starting to get some jobs overseas. You know, right now, guess what he does? He has a baseball academy.
No way.
He has his own baseball academy. He has a good relationship with the Astros here and stuff. He'd be a great guy to talk to your son because he was a great two-sport athlete, you know. Basically went pro in both sports, actually. You know, overseas pro for basketball. Yeah.
Wow, yeah, we definitely need to make that connection. And that's why I love To God Be the Glory Sports, because you're not limited to just Texas. Like, this thing could be a nationwide thing. And China, I mean, I'm excited just to see where and how much this program is going to grow. I'm excited for that connect too. So I appreciate that.
No doubt. That's what it's all about, huh, Coach?
Coach Debb?
Yes, indeed. Absolutely. Absolutely. Networking is everything. I do want to know, this is very important because of the place that we're in right now. It's a virtual community. Everybody's not so everybody's not so bold about being around people. So with your To God Be the Glory institution, which I'm so grateful for as well, have you set in place a virtual community? Have you made access virtual access to the people that are coming to be a part of your organization?
Well, we conduct most of our meetings on Zoom nowadays, right? So everything's being handled over Zoom. And as far as people coming to the organization, people just generally are call or send an email. And dealing with coaches is pretty much the same thing: virtual calls, Zooms, sending out guys video clips and things like that. The only thing that you pretty much can't do virtually is actually get in the gym with the guy and train. So this, To God Be the Glory is also, we own a piece of an app called Evolve Sports Training app. And we have about 350,000 global users with Evolve. So
wow.
Evolve it's a basketball
awesome.
training app. It has all kinds of drills on there. And it's great. It's a group of young guys out of Atlanta. Actually, they're based in Lawrenceville, and I've been working with them for a couple of years. I'm their director of Asia development to push it out on that continent. But it's really had a big uptick since COVID. Evolve basketball training app.
I do want to ask you something before we close out. I recall you mentioned that you had the virtual. What was it? You was going to be doing something virtual with your organization. You remember we talked about early on, you mentioned that you were going to be, did you mention that you're going to be offering some type of virtual assessments or classes or something with your new center?
Oh, no.
Did I miss?
We may have been talking.
Did I misread you?
We may have been talking about the Africa draft because of COVID. That's what I do. That's the virtual activity that I know we're involved with. Because the NBA draft is normally in June and they pushed it back because of COVID, right? And so they normally fly in players to work them out. But with this basketball thing, they're going to do it virtually. So the players have to do a virtual upload of the workout because they can't fly them and assemble them in to do these individual evaluations. So maybe it was that.
So this is only sports. To God Be the Glory is a sports initiative, right? It's not education. It's all sports.
No, like I was saying about the George, it's like with the George Floyd Project when I was describing those programs and those type of educational initiatives, yes, but I didn't make it about any of those things being offered virtually yet. A lot of these things are going to be implemented once the center is completed, and hopefully by the time that construction is done, people be able to gather. But now that you're mentioning it, that really may not be a bad idea as far as to start to get people together. But we all know that Zooms and virtual meetings they're effective, but it's nothing as personal as
very effective.
Somebody, right? You got to be in the room with somebody.
Nothing, because people need to touch
stuff now. Yeah, with these, what we're trying to do with the law enforcement and everyday citizens and people and not feeling scared. So we need to get y'all together to look eye to eye, shake hands. So give hugs. Yeah.
Well, we're gonna get ready to close it down, but before we do, I want Lady Ashley to just share with the people that are listening this morning, the importance of the village. Just to give them something to think about, because a lot of people are antsy. They 6 feet apart and don't want to really be, around people. But touch is a love language, and the village a lot of times don't actually require you to put your hands on anybody. You can make a phone call, you can FaceTime. We can take advantage of the virtual, like you stated, but it's still village oriented. We can still make some things work. by doing it that way. So if you can just speak on that a little bit, we're going to get ready to close out.
Right. So I just want to encourage everybody who is listening to get back to the basics. You know, it used to not be an unfamiliar thing to have a village around you to help raise your children. Nowadays, people, they get very offended when someone outside of their inner circle tries to do anything concerning their children. But I want people to become more aware of the importance of the village. And honestly, because the village is missing, we're seeing a lot of the result of the missing village in these children today. And there are a lot of kids out there who are being raised by their grandparents, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I'm 34, I'll be 35 next month, and like my kids wear me out. And so I can only imagine the limitations that an older parent or grandparent may have when it comes to raising children. So I say all of that to bring it in to say, you know, I encourage people who have different gifts and purposes placed inside of them to activate them and to start being a part of a village. When you see something wrong and you have you can change whatever it is that's going wrong, or you can make that situation better, I encourage you to do so. It's no longer about just us. At the end of the day, we all have a personal responsibility to do more or to be greater than ourselves. So I just want to encourage everybody to find the beauty in the basics, and that's just rebuilding your village. So if you don't have one, I encourage you to start trying to rebuild it. Identify those people who you know who will be a part of your village and will be effective when it comes to raising your children, or just being a good neighbor and doing what needs to be done. So I challenge you to be a part of the change, and I challenge you to do what others won't do and be the change that's needed.
I need for you to summarize to God be the glory. And I want you to entice the listeners to give, to support this movement, because this is a movement. What you're doing, sir, is a movement. And Ashley, she said it really well when she said how tragedy sometimes can be that very thing that activate what, you know, not in those words, but that's exactly what I perceived her saying, that tragedy can activate the movement.
Oh yeah, and I appreciate
because
that.
You are already doing it. But look, now it's like you've been catapulted.
That's right. Catapulting. That is a great word to describe it. You know, I do encourage people to go to tgbtgsports.com, just like on my shirt, tgbtgsports.com, and you can go there. You can donate to what we're doing, and you know, I think it'd be great if you just went to the website and bought a George Floyd shirt. You know, you can support it and have something tangible. You know, we have the George Floyd team shirts on the site. I think that's a great way to support what we're doing. Also, you can just get on the mailing list. Just contact us on the website, because we're going to do a brick and tile fundraiser where people can actually purchase a brick with their name on it or their company's name on it, or a piece of tile, just to commemorate their donation to the center. So, you know, the T-shirts right now is just a great conversation piece. When you're wearing a George Floyd shirt, you can talk about that side of him, the scholarship athlete, you know, the aspiring pro, and also, you know, the brick tile. Those are also both great. So yeah, I really appreciate that. And this is the movement. Get behind it, and everybody's welcome, all inclusive. We welcome you.
Thank you so much, Cyril, for being our guest today. It has been educational. It has been inspiring for me to continue in doing and being a part of all the good that I'm introduced to, because it takes a village. With what you are actually doing, you need individuals. You need people in on what you're doing. We are the village. And I speak to those that are like, well, you know, in their mind thinking, well, I don't care to support anything that is justifying the actions of someone that possibly did something wrong. I would talk to you today and remind you that he without sin cast the first stone.
Amen.
It's about the message. The message is love. It's not about the act of that individual. That person is a human being. He was loved by people that love him. And what if it was your brother? What if it was your daddy? What if it was your uncle? What if it was your family member? You would think totally different. So it's very important for us to recognize, I'm understanding that this organization, To God Be the Glory Sports, as a meaning of love without condition. Because it doesn't matter. It does not matter what was done. This is moving in a place of love. This is an action of love. My quote for you today is, don't judge each day by the harvest you reap, but by the seeds that you plant. And that's by Robert Louis Stevenson. So I would admonish you to plant a seed of love today and support To God Be the Glory Sports, because you reap what you sow. Also, the theme today was right on point. When you say raising a child well is a communal effort. It's a communal effort. In AKA, it takes a village. Thank you again for tuning in to Motivation Monday. New week, new goals. We love you, and we admonish to you, love everybody and be an example. Have a good day.